Welcome back to the DTF Film Sessions. I'm Max Dean. You can find me on Twitter at @TheMaxDean, and I am here with Tre'Shon Diaz at Trey3Sean. That's how you would phonetically say it say it out on Twitter. And we are here to talk about some linebackers. First linebacker that we are doing in this entire process is going to be Trenton Simpson. So episode number 19 is all about the linebacker from Clemson. Tre'Shon, how you doing, man? It's good to see you again.
Hey Max, it's good to see you too. I'm doing well. Yeah, happy to be here and excited to break down these linebackers.
Little late night recording session for the
Yeah.
backers. So it's going to be him, and then our next one's going to be Jack Campbell. So just very different guys, and everybody kind of has their opinion on which one is more valuable. The kind of consensus is that it's not the greatest linebacker class, and I think more often than not, that's just going to be how it is until something changes and the archetype of what we're looking for just becomes more readily available, or evaluators at least know how to scout some specific traits that they feel will consistently translate. Just because right now it's tough, right? A linebacker position, it's really demanding length, it's demanding athleticism, and it's hard to find the guys that have the mentality that make really special linebackers, but also have all of those rare traits and size and so on and so forth. So Simpson is very much the type of player that has the speed and athleticism. I don't necessarily feel like I see a ton of linebacker instincts. So he kind of gets places fast, but doesn't necessarily impact the game as much as you would like for a player who has all those traits. It's just going to depend on if a team feels like they're going to be able to coach him up or not. And I'm always a little questionable about coaching up something that I deem to be instinct. So what are your overall thoughts on Simpson before we jump into the tape here?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to agree. He definitely has that athleticism that guys are looking for. He's got the 4.4 speed. He's a little bit on the lighter end. I think he comes in around 235, 6'2", which is, it's okay size to have at the next level. It's not anything to really worry about. But like you said, it doesn't really seem like he has the instincts to play inside, or that you're looking for a guy who's going to be playing inside at the next level. I don't think he necessarily always has a plan. He kind of does rely on that athleticism we talked about. And, to your point about coachability, I think he's somebody that is really going to depend on, what is the defense that they're running and what are they asking of their linebackers, because I think that's going to drastically, affect, the kind of success that he has at the next level, because I don't know if there's some schemes that he'd be able to survive in if they have to ask him to do a lot of heavy work in the run game. So, you know,
Definitely true. And I think, you know, it didn't seem like they asked him to line everybody up on a consistent basis. And probably some of that just had to do with how many different places they lined him up, right? They put him in
Yeah.
the slot, they put him strong side, weak side, middle linebacker. I mean, he was on the edge. He literally just was everywhere, right? And so
Mhm.
someone is going to see that and be like, this is a versatile guy, and there are a bunch of ways we can use him. And some people are going to say, well, he does all that stuff, but I don't see him do anything great, which is kind of the boat that I'm in with him. And so he seems to know where he's supposed to go, but it seems a little bit more like read and react than anticipatory. And I think anticipation is huge for linebackers. So let's jump in and see what we see and reflect on see these plays that we've got set up. So I'm going to just basically play the play through, and then we'll kind of go back and run it back and forth and highlight anything that we want to.
Okay, great.
All right. So, first thing is burst, right? He gets back there, but doesn't necessarily break down as effectively as you would like to see, considering how quickly he closes on the back, um, and then misses a tackle. Now, that's a really hard tackle to make based on the
Mhm.
angle, but also you'd like him to close the gap a little bit more effectively. And from the outside, let's see, is it his responsibility to set that edge there?
It looks like it is.
Yeah. So that's not ideal, and you'll see him at times trying to, jump gaps if he thinks he can get there in time. Like, he's not sure who has the ball yet until this last possible second, but it's like, okay, great. He's there, but now what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing that, we kind of noticed with this play, especially right here, is I don't think he really, and this is kind of where maybe the 235 becomes a little bit of a concern, is he doesn't necessarily brace himself or take on that contact at the line well. You can see he never turns his head, doesn't get any eyes on the man there, and he doesn't, really put up an arm or hold his ground too much. On the other angle, the all 22, you can actually see that he gets a, decent shove down. He does need to eat up some of that space, to make the QB make a decision, but um, really wanted to see him kind of just do everything a little bit cleaner here. If he's able to stay, more sound right there and not get his shoulder opened and turned and then kind of lose his footing, I think he has a little bit of a better chance of making that tackle. Still a tough play to make, though, like you said.
Yeah, well, like right here, he's well off his feet. He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really initiate contact with the tight end. I think it's a tight end, but he basically just runs past him, right, or tries to at least.
Right.
And it just that's just like a guy trying to be an athlete as opposed to play the linebacker position.
And
All
like we
right.
said, we really want to see him set the edge there, hold that edge, and he doesn't. He almost just gives it up immediately. And I think he recognizes kind of at the end there that it's a read option play, and he's fast enough to be able to kind of get out there but not close.
So I picked a couple of plays. I picked like 10, 11 plays, something like that, and I sent them over to you, and I let you pick which ones were going to be in the final product. So I'm not sure if this one made it in, but there was another play where he did recognize that it was a read option and who ended up having the ball and who he needed to cover. But again, it just like it didn't the final result of the play was a little bit better recognition, but not like a huge play at the same time. All right, let's move on to the next one here. And I mean, again, the athletic traits are just going to be readily apparent. He can go sideline to sideline. He can get wherever he needs to very quickly. It's just the split seconds of decision making make a big difference for him, I think. So this is one where he is a little bit more under control, and this
Mm-hmm.
is a really nice athletic play. He's got this, I think it's a guard. Yeah, the guard, number 75, is huge. He's coming right at him. I mean, surely he's going to throw him right out of the play, but he's able to nimbly just basically contain the gap, swoop, jump back inside, and then it's not the best form tackle per se, but I think considering the circumstances, he does a nice job and ultimately brings him down. And then going back to the start of the play, pretty solid recognition from the get-go.
Mm-hmm. Really good first step on that one.
Yeah. But what else do you see here?
So yeah, the thing I liked about this play is situational football. We're inside the 10. Um, we already saw it at the beginning there, but the first step, he's moving almost as the motion man, like he starts creeping over. You can see it before the ball is snapped that he already has a feeling. He knows that the play's coming here. He does a good job to stay disciplined because you're gonna have the fullback come do a down block and take care of the edge, which sometimes if linebackers aren't disciplined with their eyes, that'll catch them, but he knows where the ball's going. He stays with the play. He sets up the guard really well here as he comes upfield. He doesn't try to do hero ball. Like you said, he's very under control. He knows that he needs to stop this from turning into a big play and, possibly a touchdown. And I liked, I liked the effort. Like you said, not a great form tackle, but he knows to just hold on. He's got teammates around him. And that that was one where I thought, that's the athleticism that I think the teams like to see, the ability to operate in space. And if he can do that on a consistent basis, he'll make somebody happy.
Yeah, it's just when you watch it full speed, you can really see how well he moves, especially laterally, back and forth. The change of direction is really good. I wish the power was better because you look at a guy like Nolan Smith, and traits wise, they're probably pretty similar, right? I think Smith's
Mm-hmm.
at 238, um, Simpson's at 235. They're both about 6'2", probably similar speed, probably ultimately similar change of direction ability. Smith might be a little bit freakier, but he just takes on contact so much better, right? He's
Yeah,
willing to do it. It's totally, totally, totally different. And you don't expect that from an off-ball guy necessarily, but I'd like to see more at the very least.
I agree. I think one other thing I want to mention here that he does really well is that you can see his shoulders stay square down the line of scrimmage the entire
Hmm.
time. And that's just, that's kind of some of those things where we said maybe we don't see a ton of, the technique, the instinctual aspects of playing linebacker, but that's a good example right there.
Right. Yeah, I think he definitely is coachable. There's
Hmm.
play recognition. It's not that it's not there, right? He's not a bad prospect. I think
Right.
what we're kind of talking about as we go through this is the idea that he can have these traits, but without these other special traits, it's hard to justify taking him with a top 40 pick, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Maybe ultimately at the end of all this, my process, I'll feel like he is, but just generally speaking, the traits are great, but I'd be much more comfortable with him later in the second round. The lower you take him, the less the expectations are, the more that you can kind of work him in. And then you just got to realize that, he's probably never going to be a huge difference maker for your defense ultimately. Um, but we're not trying to trash him in any way, shape, or form. All right. All right. So again, more good and bad here, where you see the recognition.
Mm.
Um, he gets there quickly, but then he lets himself kind of get washed out by the guard, and then this athleticism to roll off this. I think a guard at the next level is going to have him dead to rights here, and he's just going to be done. And he's helped by the fact that uh, whoever number 5 is here comes running up and kind of slows him down a little bit, and he does get hands on, but again, it's like you kind of
Yeah.
get there, but you let yourself get potentially pushed right out of the play by being too focused on the running back and not aware of what's happening around you.
Yeah, this one was interesting for a couple of reasons because it felt like he, started off strong. It's solid first step. He's headed towards the ball. He's right there, and it's just like he doesn't feel. I understand what he's trying to do. I think he has the gap responsibility. I think he's got the A gap here between the guard and the center, and he's trying to play that gap, but he should be able to feel when the center turns his shoulders like that and he's that huge hole that opens up that he needs to work more towards that shoulder, that inside shoulder, and not
Hmm.
try to get so far out. Cause like you said, now he's washed out. In college, that spin move works. I agree with you. I think, you know, I think an NFL guard, at that point, if they get both hands on you right there like that, it's pretty much over.
Hmm.
It is nice to see him fight through the play. That was one of the things I liked about it. When we looked at it from the overhead view at real time, I mean, you see the speed, right? Like you see the traits. It's just, he's a little bit more out of control. And I think he plays a little bit more fast and loose in the open field or, between the 20, so to speak, than when he gets in the red zone and he tightens up a bit. If he had a little bit more of that discipline out here, like he did on the last clip we showed, this could have been another really good play.
And it's kind of non-committal in the engage with the guard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like he puts the arm out, and if he really committed to that, he might be able to long arm him and then have a more successful disengage. But he just kind of puts it there. He doesn't really like make that effort. He's just being an athlete trying to make a play as opposed to playing linebacker. You know, you want to have strong hands on that guard. And it's like, this is the instinct that I'm talking about, where
Yeah.
like you may know where the play is going, you may know where the running back is, and like which direction they're moving, but if you're not aware of what else is happening around you, if you don't just have a natural feel of who's coming up to try and take you out of play, then you know it is this is going to happen.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to your point you made earlier is, we're looking for strength, and specifically we're really looking for it at the point of attack. We saw with the
Mm-hmm.
chip block earlier, he kind of does the same thing. He almost absorbs the contact, and you really want to see your linebacker being the one to initiate that, especially at the point of contact, because that's when you have to be most effective to shed your blocks in order to get back there and make the play.
So this one is one where I think, does he make this massive impact? Not necessarily, but I think coaches look at that and they're like, "Oh my goodness, like I would love to get my hands on this," because starting from this angle, right? The amount of space that he covers on this play is pretty substantial. He also has a beautiful back pedal for a linebacker, and you can see it more clearly in plays where he's just backpedaling into space.
Yeah,
So
and yeah.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I'm glad you noticed that right off the bat. That was one of the reasons that I picked this clip up. Is it kind of looks like, okay, solid back pedal, good zone coverage, but like you said, he eats up so much space, and it's so effortless too. Like everything looks, like you said, there's a coach out there that sees the back pedal, sees the ability to do your job, and likes that, can work with that.
And I love that he takes a shot on the quarterback here. I'm pretty sure this is quarterback. And he's
Yep.
still in bounds. It's a clean hit. And he makes sure that he sends him flying out of bounds. Because, like, look, if you're going to come to my sideline, I'm going to make you remember that. Right.
Yeah, that's some of the nastiness, that's some of the, like we said, strength at the point of contact, whether it's the tackler or the blocker, that's what you want to see from your linebacker. And yeah, no, I really like that a lot.
I would like to see him, exhibit that on incoming blockers a little bit
Yeah.
more. But, I'm the quarterback at the very least. But yeah, so it's just, he it's not like a wildly impressive coverage because he's not really challenged that heavily, but the back pedal is really nice. But then the burst off of that click to close is really nice, and it's a good
Mhm.
angle too. I mean, not that the quarterback really has anywhere to go, but still, it's a solid angle, and he's the first one there, and should be no surprise. All right, this might be our last one. Oh, this is just the other. Oh yeah, I didn't even really watch it here, but that speed. Look at that speed.
Yeah. And he keeps his eyes on the quarterback the entire time too. That was the other thing I really like that you noticed from that angle, is you can see he knows what he's supposed to be reading.
Mm-hmm. All right. For this one again, you see him just lined up all over the place. So he's in the slot here. I have to see from the back who that's on. It might be a running back because he seems to know like right away where this is going. So
Mm.
in this play, you see both the versatility, but also some really nice play recognition. Like he's not tricked. Like you can see like here, he's already leaning, and he's leaning outside. And as soon as the whoever this receiver is steps towards him, he's already trying to get off the block and just get there. And he does a really nice job. Now, again, tackle, But tackling, you can still probably clean up. Like, that's the one thing where I'm like, you can probably bank on getting better at that at the NFL level.
Yeah, I like this play because he finally showed us that what I was looking for at the point of contact. He extends the arm, almost gets his hand through the chin strap there. But funny enough, I think this is one of the one times where I actually would have been okay with him going more towards the ball. I love the play recognition, like you said. He can tell pre-snap. He's seen this on film. He understands what's about to happen here, and he sets himself up well. I think it's just like you said, a matter of working up closing. He gets his hands on him, and I think he just stays a little bit, long inside with the blocker, but it almost looks like he gets held a little bit there. But I think he does a good job here of fighting through contact. Has no issues with it. Recognizes the play. He just can't get both hands on him there.
Well, with this strength to long arm through or to stiff arm through whoever, that
That's
might
nice.
be, I think it's a receiver, but it's like, that's great and all, but like, it seems like he puts the same amount of effort into this as he does into a guard or tackle. And the problem is that he's going to be able to do this 9 out of 10 times with a receiver, especially when it looked like kind of thin. I think that might be number 11 there. Like, he's going to be able to do that, but you've got to just make such a more of a concerted effort when you're going to be doing it against offensive linemen, because you're never going to win casually in terms of strength. You have to commit fully, and I just haven't seen that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good summary of his game. He'll make splash plays, he'll do some cool stuff, and he'll look like really flashy doing it, but at the same time, there's just this understanding of the full position that's not there yet, and I think he'll improve. I think he'll get better. I think he'll be a pretty good starter. I don't think he'll ever be a game changer, though. And when we're talking about linebackers in the first round, I think that's what you got to shoot for, right? So I think for sure he's a second round guy for me. And depending on how I like everybody else that I finish watching as we kind of get right up to the draft, there's a good chance that I might not really consider him a top 50 caliber player either. And if you need a linebacker, then it might push him up a little bit. But if you're going off of just pure grading, he probably is like, closer to 60-ish than 50. Do you have any closing thoughts on Simpson here? Because we're going to see such a wildly different player when we do our next one.
Yeah, I think I think the thing with Simpson is guys, especially coaches around the league, they will take chances on players with traits, and he has those athletic traits that we talked about and that we saw flash. So I think I have the same feeling with you. I think I've got him maybe as like a late second round pick in that range. He's definitely somebody where I think he can find a place in the league, and somebody, if they can actually figure out how to use that skill set, if they're able to replicate some of the ability to line him up and move him around, then he's a pretty intriguing prospect, and it'd be interesting to kind of see how it plays out and where he goes.
I am curious to see where he ends up, and I'm curious to see if I say where he ends up, meaning what team he ends up, like the situation. But I'm also very curious to see if somebody falls in love with him and he ends up going a little bit higher. I was talking to Kyron, or he tweeted that he's basically fully committed to Simpson as his number one linebacker in the draft this year. And I was literally like in the middle of watching Jack Campbell when I saw that. I was like, I don't know how do you see that? But it's like, it's just a difference of opinion. It's just what you value. And it's like, for me, I don't think there's any question. I don't think Kyron would disagree that day one, Jack Campbell probably is a better player, but it's just really about where the projection is for these guys in year 2, 3, 4. Is Jack Campbell like already the guy that he's going to be? Maybe. So I'll leave it there because we are going to jump into him next and really get a deeper look at what he does. So if you're going to watch that, awesome. You can check out all of our other breakdowns as well. But if not, and this is it for now, I'm Max Dean. You can find me at the Max Dean. This is Tre'Shon Diaz. You can find him at Trey3Sean on Twitter. And he is a contributor for Defiant Takes Football as well as Neptune Scouting. And if you follow the Falcons, he also does a fantastic Falcons podcast as well. So, man, it's just time for the full spiel. All right. You can find Defiant Takes Football at Defiant Takes on all social media outlets. You can find us live every Monday and Thursday on the YouTube channel. You can find us on our podcast feed with those episodes being released in audio format as well. And all written content is going to be at defianttakesfootball.com. All right. With the number of these reviews that we're doing, I have said that so many times in the past few days. All right, guys, we'll see you all very soon. Come check out Jack Campbell.